Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Feazell, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge television, radio, and podcast talk show. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, beginning 2 p.m. on the Eastern Time Zone as I get to ride home with you in the afternoon. Boy, do I look forward to it. You can find us on television in Alabama. You can find us on Channel 182. That's on Charter Communications up close to Huntsville, Alabama. Abundant Television found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast on the newscasters.com. Another way you can find us is on the radio. That's WZLA radio. That's 92.9 on the FM dial. Again, thank you so much for watching. We definitely appreciate it. We're going to talk about eggshells today. Oh, why do I get so turned on about eggshells in the garden? Because they're so beneficial. And it's something you don't really think about a whole lot. And through the years, I've heard people say, don't throw away the eggshells. Use those in your garden. They're going to be beneficial. But nobody ever told me how. And I would just, get a whole eggshell like this one right here. This is from Phil's breakfast. He likes his scrambled egg with whatever on it, and he likes cheese, and he likes all that good stuff on it. But I'm keeping the eggshells. But now I'm keeping eggshells in 2 different containers, and let me tell you why I'm doing that. Okay, this is a cracked egg. There's nothing in it right here. Okay, you want to clean it. These eggshells, once I get those dried and once I turn those into the powder form like you're seeing right here, which is something I did yesterday, I'm going to put those in capsules. That's going to be capsules for us to intake in our bodies. But what we're going to talk about today are the eggshells that we're going to use in the garden. Now, when I have boiled eggs, sometimes they just slip right off, and then sometimes they don't. And so this one didn't just give you a good example. It's still got some of the egg in it. See right there, the egg white. I keep those, and I keep them where they can ventilate, and I keep them where there's airflow. Usually in a bag, but I'm going to keep these in this just right now, just for purposes. I keep these old plastic things all the time. So what we're going to use these for, and I'm going to show you how to process those, is to turn those into eggs you can use in the garden. Now, what I found, when you use just an eggshell, when you just do it like this, and even when you kind of crumble it up, it takes it forever to decompose. But if you make a powder out of it, it's going to decompose right away. Your tomatoes are going to love you and hug you and kiss you and give you all kinds of tomatoes. So you can have those really neat tomato sandwiches this time for summer. They love it. They love the calcium. And we're going to get to a little bit more about that in just a few minutes. But I want to show you a few videos. I've got some short ones that I've been working on just to kind of with me in the garden, kind of showing you how to do it. So here's video number 1. We're going to get started. Okay, guys, now we are going to sprout some sweet potatoes. And we'll talk about the medicinal properties of sweet potatoes and how sweet potatoes can help you, but not only you, but your pets as well. It's really good for their digestive system. If you have an aging dog, you really want to feed them sweet potatoes. And this is the way to do it. And I wanted to show you the sprouting process. I like to use water. Find a jar. I like to use these old mayonnaise jars my grandmother used to have. And so what you'll do is fill the jar with some water, which is what I've done right here. But I wanted to show you another one that had already started sprouting. And it's really important now when you do this, and you can see the jar, and you can see some of the sprouting has already happened. So what you want to do is put the potato kind of halfway where it receives about half of the amount of water. Okay, so let's show you real quick how we've done it. So far I've got 16 jars. I'm going to wind up with 17 jars. Now, one important thing about sweet potatoes is if the sweet potato feels kind of soft, if it's anything like that, that's mushy. All that's going to do is rot. It's not going to be a good sweet potato to sprout. So I'm going to put that into the compost pile. However, I did rescue some of that sweet potato so you can see how hard that is right here. Now you need to give it some time to heal and kind of scab over before you start putting it in the water. But look what happened after only a day. So this is pretty neat. See, you've got the sprouts already coming through. We are in Abbeville, South Carolina. You can buy sprouts, but I prefer my own because these came out of the garden previously, and I know no pesticides have been used on these potatoes in any way. You can buy from the grocery store and you can sprout. Some people, you say you can't do that, but you can. Now I want to show you something else. What you can do, and this saves a little money if you've got some time, if you get a sweet potato, now again, it has to be real hard. See, there are no soft spots on that at all. And so what I'm going to do is cut this one in half. Now it's best again to let it set and let it sprout. Okay, so let's go ahead and cut it. See, that's a good hard sweet potato. So let's go ahead and cut him. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to go on ahead and put this in the water, but it is best to let it scab over because you can see that tenderness of the sweet potato in there. It could possibly cause some rot. But since it's going to be probably a couple of weeks before I even put these in the ground, I think we'll be okay. Now this is the test, okay? So you can't have the sweet potato like falling into the water. It needs to be just about halfway. So you can see right here, I've measured the water and it's about halfway, but what we're going to do is put some toothpicks. Now I've got my thumb, so you can see my thumb is setting on that, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get kind of eyeball it. So I'll go on ahead, and by the way, the sweet potato needs to be as straight as it can in the water. Okay, there goes another one. So you need two sides. Some people do four, you can do two as well. So see, I have just added, I've turned one sweet potato into two sweet potato plants. Okay, again, let's go ahead and put a little dowsing in it. See, this one has already started sprouting. That's good news. We like that. So I'm going ahead and just kind of pre-measure. Now this one, I'm going to start right here. I hope you can see me. I have the camera turned around. And then we're going to go on ahead and put this in. See, the sweet potato I have just cut has already started hardening. So I think that's why we're going to be okay, because we are almost in mid-May while I'm doing this. And so you can see it's not quite halfway. So what I'm going to do is add just a little bit more water to this one. You'll need to kind of keep an eye on the water too, because you know they like to eat, so they like to soak it up and they like to soak up the sunshine. Now one thing you'll need to make sure you do when you have a sweet potato, okay, if it doesn't have any eyes on it and it has already started sprouting, you're okay to start sprouting it right here. That is a great spot. So I'll move a couple jars out of the way. My awesome paring knife that I've had probably 30 years. It's a good one. You got some equipment that works. You need to stick with it. So you can see I didn't fill this one quite halfway because it's a pretty big sweet potato. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure. I want about half of that sweet potato to be in the water. Again, all I'm going to do is get a toothpick. You know what I think I'm going to do? I think I'm going to cut this one in half. I think that would be a good idea. I'll do that a little bit later. So let's just go ahead and show you. See, the sprouts have already started coming out. So what we're going to do is put it into the water with the sprouts. That's just going to save you some time. So all I'm going to do is get a toothpick, put it in one side, get a toothpick, put it in the other side. And what you're doing is you are resisting rot. That's the number one cause people can't grow sweet potatoes or any other kind of potato. Now this is what we do with sweet potatoes. Now with the white potatoes, I've got some Yukon Golds that are growing right now. Treat them a little differently. You can go ahead and put them into the ground once you start receiving some sprouts. But what I'm for, and I'll show you another video in just about a week so you can see how fast this thing grows, you want the sprouts going all the way down because you want healthy roots. So that's what we're going to do with sweet potatoes. Okay, now it's going to be a long harvest because these potatoes have to have 6 to 8 hours of full sun. Now I'm going to put these in the raised bed. And so we have a lot of clay, and we also have a lot of sand here in Abbeville, South Carolina. And what I'm going to do, once I get these, once they start sprouting, and you get all these wonderful, wonderful sprouts that are going, and runners that are going all the way down into that jar, what we're going to do is put them in a raised bed. And then the raised bed, that works great because, again, the soil content we have here, and I amend it, but it's still just not quite the same. But what you can do in a raised bed, you can actually grow your any of your plants. They can actually be planted closer together in a bed, because in the bed the soil has already been amended, and I've got like 2 feet of a bed. And so you're going to see in just a few weeks, you'll see how this turns out. The great temperature, the best time basically to plant sweet potatoes would be April through June. I'm almost hitting that mark right there. You need to make sure there is all danger of frost is out of the way. And then another thing you do to make sure is the soil temperature should be at least 65 degrees. That's really warmer would be even better. Again, full sun, and mix in compost, by the way, before you start planting, but don't over fertilize it with nitrogen. They don't like that. They're pretty temperamental, guys. They really are. The plant slips need to be 12 to 18 inches apart. Because it's a raised bed, I'm going to put mine a little closer. I'm going to do like 8 to 10 inches apart. And again, you can do that in a raised bed because this, again, the soil has been amended, and the roots are going to follow down a lot farther than they would if you did it just in ground. So you'll see what I'm talking about. What you want to do, once you start planting the slips, you want to bury the roots and the lower stem. But we're going to get to that in another segment. But right now, I just wanted you to see what they look like in a jar. And I'll be taking some pictures along the way, and you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. And this is the ideal situation right here that's beginning. See, you can see this one's a day old, so he's been sprouting. And this is what you're looking for. That's a good, healthy plant. Okay, that's enough for this segment. We'll be back just a little bit later. Just keep watching me on this journey, and we'll see how the sweet potatoes turn out. I think you're going to like it. Well, I got to tell you, I'm ready for a sweet potato pie. How about you? Let's talk a little bit more about the sprouting process. That was about a week ago when I had that recording. So now we're back in the studio, and I just wanted to show you one of the weaker looking plants and what it looks like at this time. You know, we're talking about the sprouts on the bottom, and take a look at that. I'm just telling you, these things are showing out. We're going to have a bit of a rainy season right now, so I'm going to give them more time to sit here in these jars. And by the way, the morning sun is really good for these, okay? So if you've got some morning sun, and if you've got a choice between morning and the afternoon sun, choose the morning sun. That's going to be a lot better, and it's not going to be as harsh to these absolute tender little roots right here that you've got. Look at how many, I just wonder how many sweet potatoes are going to come out of this one half a potato. Remember, this is one that I had cut, and I said you got to let it scar. See how hard that is on the outside? So apparently that morning sun did its due. It did what it was supposed to do. Okay, let's see what time it is. Okay, we still got a minute or two, so let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about how to choose sweet potatoes and sweet potatoes planting. So sweet potatoes are usually grown from slips, not directly from seeds. Now, you can do seeds, but I'm just telling you, it's going to take a lot longer. And when I'm ready for sweet potato pie, I'm ready. Okay, so it's hard for me to wait even this long. But what are slips? Slips are going to be those young shoots that grow out of a mature sweet potato root. That would be something like we saw here in the sweet potato. I don't know if you can see right there. Okay, so that is the slip. And then I've got the roots growing out of the slip. So that's like half the battle right there once you get that rocking. Okay, now let's talk a little bit more about healthy, disease-free sweet potatoes, because that's what your goal is. You know, sometimes you start out really good and you think, oh man, I'm going to have sweet potatoes or anything that you grow. And sometimes what gets them is disease, and we don't want that to happen. So what you're looking for basically is medium-sized roots. Now, organic or untreated roots if possible. So some of the store potatoes are treated to prevent sprouting. And that's why some folks say don't go to the grocery store and buy them. I've had some luck throughout the years doing that. But these are some that I found in the feed and seed years ago. And so you sprout off of sprouts. So as you go, you're having organic. And then these are plants. You can always, you know, a lot of folks want to give their kids money, you know, when they pass away, you know, and you're thinking about inheritance. Seeds are the way to go, but now you've got to teach them about plants and about seeding for it to be worth it to them. Let's talk about preparing those. And we talked about the water method, and we just did that. You saw me going through the water method, that the steps were to wash the sweet potatoes gently by the waves. You don't want any of those wonderful root slips to be falling off. You want to insert, they're saying 4 toothpicks halfway around the potato. I did 2, whatever you've got, whatever you want to do. Suspend the potato in the container with the bottom half in water. We did that. You want a warm, sunny place. Again, preferably the morning sun is going to do the job. Now, what's going to happen? The roots are going to form first. You saw that just from Monday of this past week. This is Friday. Shoots or slips, and then they begin growing in 2 to 4 weeks. Man, these things exploded. I think it's probably because they're organic. If you buy, because I have noticed this, if you buy your sweet potatoes in the store and you decide you want to start using sprouts that way, it seems to take them a little bit longer to germinate. So if you can find yourself a good feed and seed, I'm talking a local guy who's been in business for 40 years, you got it going on there. Even better. So I found a real good one here in Abbeville too. They are absolute salt of the earth. Okay, now let's talk about when the slips are, when you want to plant, is when the slips are 6 to 12 inches long. And I'm going to take a guess. We could probably go ahead and plant these, but I want them to get bigger. So, because what if one of these falls off while I'm planting? I want good, strong roots. I want good, strong slips. And so I'm excited about that. Can hardly wait. We're going to make a sweet potato pie together too, by the way, when this harvest. See if they have several leaves on them, and these do. If they're ready to remove, you can remove those and remove the slips. And then what you want to do is twist gently from the potato, because you're going to put that slip in the ground, not the whole potato. And sometimes I do the whole potato, whatever cranks your tractor. Place the slips in water for several days until the roots develop, which was what we've done. Soil or a sand method. Let me tell you about that. What you want to do is lay the sweet potatoes in a horizontal fashion to moist soil or sand, then keep warm and lightly mist. Now, the shoots appear after a few weeks. Remove those slips when they're large enough. I like to do the 12 inches. This method often produces the stronger slips. And then preparing the land. We'll talk about that when we come back from the break. But before we do that, let me mention this to you. See the slips, see how strong those things are? I'm gently tugging and they're not coming off that sweet potato. Again, I think it's because they're organic potato slips. So anyway, and look here, there's a leaf right here that's trying to come out. These things are ready to be put in the ground now, I guess. But let's go ahead. I want them stronger than that, because the strongest roots, the strongest slips are the ones you're going to have the best outcome with, and you're going to be so glad you listened to me on this. I'm just telling you, not that I'm the know-it-all. It's just that I've made lots and lots of mistakes, and I can tell you what not to do. Absolutely. So let's go into our break, and we shall return in just a few minutes. Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. You know, finding the right home isn't just about bedrooms and square footage. It's about comfort, security, and the feeling you get the moment you walk through the door. That's why so many families across Greenwood and the Lakelands area trust Jenny Ferguson with Keller Williams. And I'll tell you from personal experience, Jenny was my realtor, and she truly cares about her clients. Jenny takes the time to listen, to understand what matters most, and to guide you every step of the way, whether you're buying your first home, upgrading, or ready to sell. because this isn't just a transaction, it's your life. With local knowledge, personal care, and a commitment to getting it right, Jenny Ferguson makes the process simple and even enjoyable. So if you're thinking about buying or selling, now's the time to make your move. Call Jenny Ferguson with Keller Williams in Greenwood today and take the next step toward a place you'll truly love coming home to. Okay, we are back. We're talking about sweet potatoes today. Preparing the land. Sweet potatoes I dig this in more ways than you know, okay? You want loose, sandy soil, well-drained soil. You also want warm temperature. So like planting these things in the early spring when you could have a possible frost is the wrong thing to do. I've done that before. And all they're going to do is rot. They will not produce at all. You want full sunlight. You want soil preparation. Clear the area. You want to remove weeds, stones. Make sure you remove old roots and also loosen the soil. You want to dig deeply, about 8 to 12 inches. Sweet potatoes do need the loose soil so roots can expand. Add organic matter, mix in compost, well-rotted manure. Avoid too much fresh nitrogen fertilizer because it causes excessive leaf growth and with small roots. So again, you want the roots. Make ridges or mounds. Sweet potatoes grow best on raised ridges. You want that. They grow good on mounds. The benefits is better drainage, easier root expansion, and warmer soil. And this does reduce the rotting. Now, we have the raised gardens, and this is what I'm putting mine in. And the reason I choose the raised garden is because where we live and where the garden is, it's in a fenced-in area, is we have a lot of trees. There's a lot of pine trees out in here. And there are roots that are growing in the garden area where trees are several feet away from the garden area, but those roots are big. We have oak trees. Believe me, this looks like a national state park where we live, and we like it for that part. And we want to keep the trees, but I do raised gardens. And so you've seen the previous videos of Phil where he's putting these raised gardens together. And I want to thank Lowe's for making all this possible. I also want to thank Amazon for making all this possible. And something, we have a coffee company in this area too. We're going to talk about them in just a few minutes. And they have been a huge asset in helping this thing happen. So again, I want to mention the raised gardens. We start with pine cones because they're really spongy and they sponge up the moisture. Next year's garden is going to be even better than this one. The older this gets, the better it's going to be. Okay, so we put the pine cones in the bottom. Well, we'll take that back. We put the cardboard in the bottom. No weird, funny stuff on the outside. It needs to be pure, nothing waxy on the cardboard. You need to take labels off. You need to take tapes off. It needs to be just the cardboard. You can strip it up if you want to, but we don't even do that. We just get it and lay it down flat. Put the pine cones, because the pine cones are going to help melt that down. They're going to help it compost like really great. And then we put a lot of pine straw in there. Then we fill the rest of it up with our Lowe's soil. And that made all the difference in the world. Again, I want to thank Lowe's for doing that for us. And also for Amazon for the beds. And I'm loving them. We've got their 8 by 4 wide, and then the depth is going to be 2 feet, and that is perfect for these sweet potato slips. Okay, and let me tell you why I like this. It's a lot of hard work now to get these things set up, but once they're set up forever. Okay, so we got the metal ones, and what happens is as they are growing, they're not going to have to fight through roots, and they're not going to have to fight through sandy soil, clay soil, none of that stuff, because we've amended that soil in the bed. As they're growing down, they're going to grow down longer. That's why I like a raised garden too, because I can plant the plants closer together, and that's going to make all the difference in the entire world when I do that. So that's another tip right there for you. Now, what is recommended is ridges, if you're going to plant in the ground, about 8 to 12 inches apart and about 3 to 4 feet apart. I'm not even going to have to do that, not with a raised garden. I'm going to do about 2 feet apart. Planting the slips, the best planting time, you need to plant after all danger of frost has passed. That's an absolute must, because you're just going to have rot. And then all that work you've done is for nothing. So you need to find out You can find out what your pH balance is in your soil. That's important as well. But the soil needs to be warm. Now, sweet potatoes prefer the warm weather, whereas your Irish potatoes, your white potatoes, they like to have a little bit of chill. So I planted those several months ago, and they even live through the frost. I mean, they're digging all of that. Now, here's how you do the spacing, how to plant spacing. 12 to 18 inches apart between plants. Again, that's in ground, and that's the way it's got to be. You want 3 to 4 feet between those rows. The planting depth, you want to bury those lower half of the slit, and you want to leave the upper leaves above ground. Water those immediately. So water well after planting, and then water the sweet potatoes. They need moisture during the establishment. So in the early stage, you want to give them water on a regular basis for the first, say, 2 to 3 weeks. Depends on how dry it is. If you've had somewhat of like we've had here, we haven't had a lot of rain here lately. And so we were watering our beds a lot. And I know a lot of our neighbors were as well. Now here's the later stage. You want to reduce the water slightly. Too much water later can cause, guess what? Rotting after all of that work. It can also cause cracked roots, poor sweetness. You want the sweet potatoes to be sweet, right? That's the whole idea for it. Mulching actually helps retain the moisture and suppresses the weeds as well. You want to keep warm soil and then use dry grass, straw, leaves, weed control. If you're in, say, a small, you have a small area at the back of your house, that's okay. Ask the neighbors if you can clean their yard. You'll probably find some neighbors somewhere that have a whole lot of pine straw. That's gold to your garden. So just tell them, say, I'll go out there and I'll clean it up if you'll let me keep the pine straw. I promise you, nobody's going to say no to you unless they're using a lot of straw. Now, weed control, keep the weeds low during early growth. Now, once those vines spread widely, they naturally suppress those weeds. So you want to avoid deep hoeing near those plants because the roots can be damaged. Now, fertilizer needs sweet potatoes best with moderate fertility. You want high potassium for that. Too much nitrogen can cause large vines, small tubers. You don't want that. Good additions would be compost, wood ash in small amounts. So we have a pile where Phil has cut limbs down. We're constantly doing that. So he's going to put that on fire once we get all this rain and everything going. And I'm going to be using that wood ash in the garden. And again, sweet potatoes love it. I mean, it's just heaven to them. Okay. Now, another thing we want to think about is balanced fertilizer. And then we're going to have to go for the day. But balanced fertilizer, pest and disease management, common pest, you got to get rid of those. Your sweet potato weevils can cause a nightmare. Your aphids can cause an issue. Caterpillars, for goodness sakes, I don't know how many times I've seen them on my leaves. Here's the prevention. So you want crop rotation. So next year, so where I have the sweet potatoes this year, I'll probably put the beans into place and put the sweet potatoes where the beans were. So you want to rotate your garden. Again, that's going to help keep everything good. Clean planting material. You want healthy soil. Remove infected plants. When my leaves start turning brown, I'm going ahead and just snip those things off. And that can make all the world to you as well. One more thing, then we've got to go. Common diseases. Let's talk about that. Root rot, fungal diseases. So what you want to do is avoid waterlogged soil. That's another reason, again, we've got the raised garden. Overwatering can cause issues. Also, harvesting. Most sweet potatoes mature in 90 to 150 days. And that's depending on the variety and also depends on where you live. So here are signs of maturity. The leaves start yellowing. I usually start smiling when I see that. The older vines start dying out. The desired root size is when you've reached the way to go then to, okay, I'm looking at the clock. It's time to go. We're going to have another segment coming up in a few weeks, and we'll talk about the journey through sweet potatoes, and I think you're going to like it too, and I can't wait to make my first sweet potato pie with you. So you take care. We'll see you later. And thank you so much for watching. Continue sending email. Donna@donnasedge.com. Donna@donnasedge.com. Appreciate you watching.
Donna's Designs offers a line of handmade memorial, wedding, and keepsake jewelry that launched back in 1970. I'm a self-trained jewelry designer, and I will work closely with you to create unique designs you can love and treasure for years to come. Whether that be flowers that were used in a funeral arrangement or stones you found on the beach at a memorable trip, call me at 256-659-4319 and let's think of the possibilities.